Today's segment will focus on the settlement of Virginia. The founding of Virginia was primarily an economic venture. The initial impetus for colonization was not the establishment of a new society, but rather the pursuit of wealth. In England, two joint stock companies were formed with this objective in mind, the Virginia Company of Plymouth and the Virginia Company of London. The former, despite its precedents, inadvertently set sail off course and ultimately landed in what we now refer to as New England during the harsh winter months, failing to establish their intended settlement. Conversely, the Virginia Company of London, comprising approximately 100 gentlemen, successfully established a foothold in the region known as the Tidewater area, specifically Jamestown. In the class-conscious England of the time, a gentleman was someone of higher standing whose proper pursuits were the clergy, the law, academia, or the military. The idea of manual labor was abhorrent to them. These adventurers envisioned a replication of the Spanish conquests, discovering and exploiting a vast Native American empire akin to the Aztecs. However, upon their arrival, they encountered a stark reality. There was no monolithic empire to conquer, only a mosaic of subsistence-level tribes. The English settlers' reluctance to engage in manual labor further compounded their difficulties. Their status as gentlemen precluded them from farming, trading, or any form of physical work, which they deemed beneath their social standing. This aversion to labor resulted in significant hardship due to disease, food scarcity, and general unpreparedness for the challenges of colonial life. The turning point for the colony came with the leadership of John Smith, who imposed a regime of work necessary for survival. Despite these adversities, the settlers received intermittent aid from the local Native American populations, a narrative popularized and somewhat fictionalized in modern culture, notably through the Disney portrayal of Pocahontas. Nevertheless, the Native American subsistence economy could not sustain the needs of the growing English population. Though their initial plan of conquest proved unrealistic, the colonists still owed their investors. Tobacco provided a means of generating income. Tobacco is grown on plantations requiring much labor. To fill this need, the English experimented with enslaving the Native Americans, but this proved ineffective due to the natives' intimate knowledge of the terrain and their indistinguishable appearance to the colonists, which facilitated escape and evasion. As the colony expanded, the need for a stable and controllable labor force became paramount. Initially, indentured servitude appeared to be a solution, offering Europeans passage and potential land ownership in exchange for years of labor. However, the high mortality rate and deceptive practices by landowners often extended servitude indefinitely, rendering it akin to slavery. Those who experienced the hardship of indentured servitude were literate and wrote back home warning against falling for the false promises of the planters. The introduction of African slaves in 1619 marked a significant shift. Unlike Native Americans, Africans were easily identifiable and unfamiliar with the territory, making them more manageable as a labor force. This led to the growth of a plantation-based economy reliant on slave labor, mirroring feudal systems with land and agricultural output as the primary sources of wealth. The concept of racism, as we understand it, a belief in the inherent inferiority of one race over another, had not yet fully crystallized. Instead, the distinctions between free men, indentured servants, and slaves were primarily economic and social, not racial. The settlement of Virginia laid the groundwork for a society that bore resemblance to medieval Europe, with a rigid social hierarchy and an economy centered on land and agriculture. This would have profound implications for the development of the United States, both economically and socially. As we continue our study, we will delve deeper into the ramifications of these early colonial decisions and their lasting impact on American history. Please proceed to answer the questions in the assignment on Canvas. If you have any questions, you can post them in the open forum discussion or contact the professor using Canvas email.